Hello, and welcome to Adventures, or welcome back if you attended our program prior to the COVID shutdown. The purpose of this video is to give you an overview of our policies and procedures. In the email that was sent out, you'll find a copy of our parent handbook as well as the COVID guide, which go into much greater detail. We ask that you please also review those documents for more information. Normally, this orientation would be conducted in person by the program director at each of our locations. However, due to COVID restrictions, we thought this would be the next best thing. I cannot promise you this will be the most exciting thing you watch on YouTube today, but hopefully it will answer some of your questions as we head into September. For those of you who are new to the program, to give you a little bit of history, Adventures has been in operation since 1991. We are a nonprofit who believe that all Albertans should have access to quality, affordable childcare, ideally within their community of choice. We still operate according to the province's accreditation standards, even though, unfortunately, accreditation was recently abolished. Our mission is to provide a safe, play-based environment where children can be exposed to activities they might not otherwise experience. We also aim to help children develop their social emotional awareness and to become their most confident selves so that they can live happy, healthy lives. To that end, Adventures aims to be as inclusive an environment as possible. We believe all children benefit from attending a program with a diverse population, and we work closely with families to provide whatever supports may be necessary for their child, including contracting an aid if possible and where necessary. We encourage all families to participate in our programs as much as possible and to provide their feedback on our organization and its policies. We conduct an anonymous survey in June of every year, and we hope that you will please provide your honest feedback. Every program is encouraged to host at least one family event per year where parents have the opportunity to better get to know each other and our educators as well. If you ever have a concern about the program, your program director is your first point of contact, but we are an open door organization and you are welcome to reach out to a member of management at any time, particularly if you have a concern about our policies or about the educators who are employed in your program. If you ever witness a child's safety being put at risk, please do contact me right away. Our programs typically operate from 7 to 6. We are closed for all statutory holidays, including Remembrance Day as well as Easter Monday. Please note that at our Catholic school locations, we are also closed for Faith Day. Be aware that whenever the school is closed, Adventures programs are also closed. Typical examples of this would include extreme weather or power outages. Our school locations are closed during winter break, spring break, and teachers' convention. However, we do typically operate a camp at our Triwood Community Hall location. Your program director will contact you 2 to 4 weeks before the start of the camp to conduct registration for those on a separate basis. Please note that camps may not be operating this year due to COVID-19 restrictions, depending on how things trend over the next couple of months. We will send out more updates as soon as we make those decisions closer to December. Adventures provides daily activities for the children in our programs, including physical literacy, arts, crafts, and science. We have shifted in recent years towards an emergent curriculum model whereby our educators constantly survey the interests of the children and develop their programming on a weekly basis based on that information. As I mentioned before, we also aim to develop the social emotional literacy of the children in our program, and as such, we employ 2 set curriculums as well. One is for our kindergarten through grade 3 students and is based on a series of storybooks. The other is for our grades 4 through 6 students and is based on the novel Wonder. If you have any questions about the content of these curriculums, your program director will be happy to go into additional detail, or you're also welcome to email me. Our programs also aim to provide leadership opportunities wherever possible, particularly for those in grades 4 to 6. Examples might include a student advisory board, leading other children through activities, and developing clubs or socially conscious endeavors. We do require that monthly fees are paid no later than the 5th of each month, preferably on the 1st if providing post-dated checks. For automatic debits, we will process all payments on the 1st unless you contact us to ask for a deferral. For any financial matters, please contact our accounts manager, John Davis. Note that program directors are not authorized to negotiate fees or otherwise be involved in financial considerations. Note that we do charge a $30 fee for NSF checks or rejected automatic debits, and $50 for every rejected or NSF check thereafter. When you registered, you are required to pay a $50 administration fee. This fee recurs on an annual basis. You are also required to pay a deposit of $200, which is if paying by check, please also separate the $50 administration fee from the $200 deposit. Please note that we are not able to offer prorated fees for any absences, staggered entry, school holidays, or temporary closures, including any temporary closures related to COVID-19. If you decide to withdraw your child from the program entirely, we require that you provide us with 1 month's notice emailed to accounts@adventurers-sac.com. It is not sufficient to simply tell your program director that you are withdrawing from the program. Typically speaking, schools ask that you please do not use their parking lot for pickup and drop-off purposes until after 4:30 p.m. Most schools do have adjacent street parking available. It is our policy that you must accompany your child to the designated drop-off area in the morning, where you will be greeted by one of our educators. It is not safe, nor is it acceptable to our licensing body, for you to release your child from your vehicle. Likewise, when picking up your child after school, you must make contact with our educators to secure the release of your child. If you would like your child to walk home from our program, that is an option. However, there is additional paperwork that you will need to fill out, and your child must be old enough and responsible enough that our educators are confident in their ability to walk home safely. We reserve the right to disallow this practice whenever unsafe conditions are present, for example, extreme weather or cold. We take the safety of your child very seriously. Our educators will only release children to authorized pickup persons as listed on your registration package, unless you have authorized another person in writing. Any person our educators have not met previously will need to produce photo ID the first time they collect your child. This includes any natural parent who we have not yet met, even if the child clearly identifies you as their parent. If you are running late at the end of the day, please phone to let our educators know. A $10 late fee will apply to the first 10 minutes and then $1 per minute after that. The late fee should be paid to the educators in cash at your earliest convenience. Please note that consistent late pickups will result in termination of care despite payment of the late fee. Please be aware that if you appear to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol when collecting your child from the program, our educators are required to report it to the police. We ask that you please do not put our educators in this uncomfortable situation, nor is it a safe situation for you and your child. If your child will be absent from school, or if you are picking them up early from school and they will not be attending our program in the afternoon, please understand it is critical that you phone our educators to let them know no later than 2:30 p.m. If a child is 10 minutes late showing up to our program after school, we will begin a search of the school premises to try to locate them. At that time, we will also start phoning parents and emergency contacts in an effort to locate the child. However, if we are not able to locate the child and the parent has not collected the child, or we have not been able to make contact with you, we are obligated to report the child as missing to the police, and an Amber Alert may be issued. We do not want that situation when typically it's just that you have picked them up earlier in the day to go to a medical appointment. When it comes to separated parents, we treat each parent as a separate and unique family. We will not share information about one parent with another, and we ask that you please do not share any personal information with our educators that is not relevant to their work with your child. Adventurers cannot withhold a child from one of their natural parents without a copy of a court order or custody agreement. If a court document is provided to us, we will abide by the conditions of that document. If there will be alternating pickups, we ask that you please provide our educators with a calendar ahead of time. If a parent arrives for pickup on a non-designated day or at a non-designated time, we will contact the other parent to obtain consent before releasing the child to that parent. Our educators will not place themselves in a situation where their safety is at risk. If a parent is being aggressive, the police will be called to resolve the situation. Adventurers reserves the right to terminate care for a family if a custody situation is causing ongoing complication or endangerment for our educators. If your child requires medication, adventurers must be informed and a medication consent form must be filled out. This form outlines the type of medication and specific information about when it should be administered, including symptoms that need to be present for the administration of the medication. This form must be renewed every 2 weeks, with the exception of inhalers and EpiPens, which are valid until the medication expires. Typically speaking, Adventurers educators will only supervise the self-administration of medication, except where the child is too young or otherwise incapable of self-administration. For EpiPens and inhalers, we ask that children please wear these on their bodies to ensure it is always immediately available should the need arise. If your child is too young or you otherwise object to this requirement, please inform your program director and the medication will be kept in the possession of our educators. However, you will need to sign an additional consent form. If your child is sick, they must be kept home from the program, particularly during the current COVID-19 situation. Under normal conditions, children cannot return to the program until they have been symptom-free for 24 hours or with a doctor's note. Again, I will provide more information specifically related to COVID at the end of this video. If your child develops symptoms of illness while in our program, you will be contacted and will need to make arrangements to have your child collected from the program within 2 hours. During COVID, this time limit has been reduced to 1 hour. Incidences of communicable disease, such as chickenpox, for example, will be reported to Alberta Health Services. The program will be sanitized and notice will be posted to warn all families of a possible outbreak. Please note that Adventurers does not provide children with food except on special occasions and not at all during the current COVID restrictions. Please send your child with a lunch and at least 2 snacks for the day. Note that Adventurers locations are peanut-free. We are not able to provide the use of a refrigerator or a microwave. In the event of a minor injury, our educators will apply first aid and you will be required to sign an accident report form at the end of the day. Whenever a child hits their head or their spine, we will contact you by telephone immediately, even if they appear to be uninjured. In the event of a serious injury requiring medical attention, Adventurers will contact parents immediately. For any injury that could be potentially life-threatening or life-altering, Adventurers will contact 911 immediately. We recognize an ambulance is a significant expense for a family to bear. However, your child's safety is our first priority, and therefore we will not seek prior consent from a parent before calling for an ambulance when appropriate. We recognize that incidents involving more than one child can be very frustrating. Please note, however, that we cannot disclose the identity of the other party involved, and parents do not have the right to approach other children in our programs. Adventurers will follow its discipline policies with all parties involved to protect the safety and well-being of your child. Field trips are currently suspended for COVID-19 with the exception of walking to a nearby green space. Normally, however, we would require your prior consent before going on any field trip. We invite families to please participate in our field trips if you are available. At our Trywood location, we transport children between school and our program using a 24-passenger bus and a 14-passenger van. These vehicles are maintained according to standards outlined in Alberta's Transportation Act, which includes conducting daily safety checklists and mechanical inspections every 6 months. Adventurers maintains a valid operating authority certificate, and our drivers have either a Class 2 license or a Class 4 license, as well as an S endorsement for school bus training. Adventurers believes that children should be supported by educators to work through and resolve conflicts on their own as much as possible, except where immediate intervention is required. We have developed a philosophy of respect, responsibility, safety, and positive attitude, which we have also turned into a rubric to help our educators assist children in working through conflict. More detail on this philosophy and rubric is available in our parent handbook. Adventurers educators will use redirection whenever possible. We do not use timeouts or group consequences. Educators are expected to treat children and families with respect. Corporal punishment is never allowed, and consequences must not lead to mistreatment of children. All conversations should be held privately, and disciplinary action must always be reasonable under the circumstances. At Adventurers, we distinguish between conflict and bullying. A certain amount of conflict between children is natural and inevitable and will be dealt with on a case-by-case basis according to our policies on guidance and discipline. Bullying, however, is where one party intentionally and repeatedly harms another and often occurs in situations where there is an imbalance of power between the two parties. Bullying also includes any behavior that is motivated by prejudice. Bullying, as opposed to conflict, is not something that is tolerated at Adventurers. Our educators will contact parents immediately in instances where bullying has developed in order to resolve the situation swiftly. Bullying that cannot be resolved will result in termination of care. Effective supervision is first and foremost among our policies for our educators. As much as we also strive to provide a program that is fun, educational, and an environment where children want to spend time, above all else, our programs must first be a safe place for children and staff. We encourage all families to review our effective supervision policy for our educators, which is why we include it in our parent handbook. If you ever witness a child's safety being put at risk or an educator not following these policies, we ask that you please contact management as soon as possible. At Adventurers, we do encourage risky play because we believe, and the research shows, that it is important for a child's development. We distinguish risky play from hazardous play, however, which is not permitted at Adventurers. Risky play, as opposed to hazardous play, are activities where, 1, there is close and constant supervision being provided by our educators. 2, where our educators have discussed the activity among themselves beforehand and have decided that A, the chances of a child being injured are low, B, the nature of any possible injuries would be relatively minor, and C, there is developmental benefit to the activity. In other words, the children are not taking risks simply for the sake of it. And third, where our educators have communicated the nature of the risk to the children, not to frighten or discourage them, but to provide them with the information that they need to make an informed decision on their own. Please be aware that Adventurers programs are, for the most part, technology-free zones. Children are not permitted the use of personal electronic devices, including cell phones, at our programs. Programs have the option to provide children access to 1 hour of electronics per month if they so choose, but not more than that. Children will be closely monitored during such times, and YouTube is never allowed. Generally, we also discourage children from bringing any toys from home into the program, as they often get lost, stolen, or broken. At the moment, for COVID-19, unfortunately, children are not permitted to bring any personal items from home, only what they require for school, and it should be located within their backpacks. If our educators choose to employ technology in a program, it will be for educational purposes. A single movie may be shown once per month on PD days. However, parents are required to sign their consent for each film. For the remainder of this video, I'll be discussing our COVID-19 policies specifically. These policies are temporary and supersede the policies in our parent handbook where applicable. Again, this is only an overview of our COVID policies. Please refer to the attached guide for complete details. All families are required to abide by these policies, and failure to do so may result in termination of care after one written warning. We must be firm on these policies because failure to do so puts you and your family at risk, and it also puts our program at risk of being shut down by either the health authority or our licensing body. The first thing to please be aware of is that most schools, both Catholic and CBE, are conducting staggered entry this year for all grades. Please note that your child can only attend Adventurers on the days where they attend school. In the case of kindergartners, however, your child can only start attending Adventurers after staggered entry is complete and they have their first regular, full day of class with everyone. Your program director should have emailed you already with information about the staggered entry dates at your specific school. Please be advised that Adventurers is requiring all children and educators to wear a mask throughout the day, except when playing outside. Your child must be wearing a mask when you drop them off in the mornings. If they do not have a mask, they will not be permitted to enter the building. When removing a mask to eat or to play outside, the following procedure should be observed. First, wash or sanitize your hands. Avoid touching the mask by grabbing it at the ear loops, lifting it off of your face, and placing it directly into a plastic Ziploc bag. You can seal it up. When it comes time to put the mask on, you would do the same procedure in reverse. Wash and or sanitize your hands, grab the mask by the ear loops, remove it from the bag, and without touching the front, reapply it to your face. We ask that you please teach this procedure to your children in the days leading up to school. One of the biggest changes that will impact families is our pickup and drop-off procedures. Please note that no parent will be allowed inside the school or within Adventurers program during the COVID-19 restrictions. Doorbells have been removed from all of our programs. When arriving at the school to pick up or drop off your child, please phone the appropriate number for your location, which is listed on the first page of the parent handbook. An educator will meet you at the designated entrance and take your child's temperature. Please note this process will increase the amount of time it takes for morning drop-off, particularly as everyone gets used to the process for the first few days. When picking up your child at the end of the day, again, please phone to let us know you have arrived. We will dismiss your child from the program to meet you at the designated door. You cannot wait for your child in your vehicle. Throughout the day, any child or educator who develops symptoms of illness will be required to leave the program for 10 days unless returning earlier with a negative COVID-19 test result. The hand sanitizer Adventurers uses is a 0.15% solution of benzethonium chloride, manufactured under the name Ecological Hand Sanitizer with Conditioning Aloe. It is a Government of Canada approved sanitizer. If your child has an allergy to any of the ingredients in this product, please send an alternative product for your child to use. High contact surfaces will be sanitized frequently throughout the day. I want to thank you all for your patience and understanding during these difficult times. It will be a challenge getting used to these new habits, but we have also learned a great deal in the process, and hopefully things will get back to relative normalcy in the not too distant future. Thank you, welcome back, and as always, please let me know if you have any questions.